So in today's lesson, we'll work on our task 1, essay structures and analysis. And today we'll go through bar chart. And at the beginning, I have to state that, so in bar chart, we'll have two different structures. Bar charts can be dynamic or static. And what I mean by static is, when static bar chart, you don't have time period, or you just have only one time period, meaning that there is no movement there. There's no change there. So it's static. In dynamic bar charts, you have different periods of time and you have to describe movement there. And today we will work on the easier part, which is dynamic bar chart. And today we describe, our topic is the chart below shows the milk export figures from 3 European countries between 2008 and 2012. So we're going to work on dynamic bar charts, which is easier than static. So as soon as we learn and we find out and we understand dynamic bar chart, we move on to static bar chart here. And the first thing that we have to do, as you know, is paraphrasing the topic. As you know, we have the structure for our introduction. In introduction, we just have to paraphrase the topic. So paraphrase the topic here. We have to paraphrase the topic. As you know, in our introduction part, we'll have some certain structures that we can memorize that we have given in previous three videos, in process, in map, in line graph, and the structure is this. So as you see, the structure is the same. The given is a bar chart which presents data regarding. You have to memorize the structure to get higher score from your grammar range and accuracy and lexical resources, because here given is inversion and passive voice, which relative clause, and presents data regarding, presents data concerning. I used the concerning in previous lessons. I just used regarding in this part. So after this, you just have to continue your introduction part. So here, the only thing that changes in introduction part is this name, right? So this name only changes. It can be bar chart, it can be pie chart, it can be a table, doesn't matter. So given as a bar chart regarding what? It was milk exports by 3 countries. So it's Italy, Russia, Poland, from these countries. So how do we describe it here? Milk export figures. It's an export of milk, 2008-2012, and millions of tons. So we can say the amount of milk which was exported. So it will be a correct way of saying it. So I will just write, so I need this, like, how do I come up with this thing? So I'll just put it here. So I say regarding the amount of milk. So here after this, the amount of milk which was exported from 3 European countries. As you see, I could use here relative clause or participle clause simply. You can just use one of them. It's just up to your choice. Exported from 3 European countries. And now if we want extra words to make our essay longer, we just open brackets, or instead of brackets, we can just put colon again, or open brackets, one of them. You just cannot do both of them. Put colon or open brackets and just give their names. And their names are Italy, Russia, and Poland. I'll just write their names. So we give time and we have to give, we give place and we have to give time. And they said from 2008, between 2008 and 2012. So I just say from to, because instead of between and, we can just use a synonym of from to, and we can just add extra information. We can say a period of 5 years from 2008 to 2012. So as you see, if you want extra words, you can give this structure in a period of 5 years. Or if you don't want to give, you don't have to give this information. It depends on your preferences. And here you have to pay attention. It seems like 2008, 2012. So it's like 4 years. I don't know. Like it seems like 4 years, but if you count, it's like 5 years. You have to pay attention to this year period when you're counting the years. And you can just give another way of saying it is in a 5-year period. In a 5-year period. So pay attention. It's not 5 years. It's 5-year period. 5-year period. So you can just do this instead of in a period of 5 years. And now, as you see, according to our traditions, when we're paraphrasing the topic, we have to give place, we have to give time, we have to give measurement, right? So actually, we gave place already, we gave time already, but we didn't give measurement. And measurement, as you know, is what kind of measure are they using, and what are they talking about when they're giving numbers? When they mean 17, what is it? 17 kilograms, 17 tons, 17 million tons? Is it 17 people or 17% of something? So we have to describe this thing now. So the measures are given in millions of tons. I just write measures are given. So millions of tons. As you see, the structure is the same. It's fixed with introduction. Measures are given in, and you just change this part depending on your situation. So measures are given in dollars, measures are given in million people, measures are given in million kilometers. So it depends on the tasks that you are dealing with. Well, in introduction, as you see, we have to write 2 sentences. We have to give place, time, measurement. We have to try to paraphrase as many words as possible. Try to change the structure itself. If we want to add extra information, we can give the countries themselves, names of the countries. We can give this structure to make it longer. So it depends on your preferences. So just choose what structure do you want to use. You can just skip this part. You can skip that part. So you can skip this relative clause part if you wish. Well, now after introduction, we have to move on to summary part. As you know, in summary overview, we have to give mainly 2 sentences. In the first sentence, we have to talk about general information. We have to describe general information. And in the next part, we have to give analysis. Now let's start the summary part. So I just wrote summary, general information, trend itself. Well, trend, is it upward trend, downward trend, is it fluctuating, or is remaining stable? In analysis, we have to give some analytical information from our analysis of this line or analysis of this chart. But to save time, we have to just give the highest point of it, as I will show below, and you will have to understand that it's the easiest structure that we could give. But if you want to get even higher score, you will have to analyze the chart yourself and try to come up with something exceptional, not including numbers. As you know, in summary, you cannot give any numbers. You shouldn't use any numbers, because if you give numbers, it will be detailed information, and you have to give detailed information only in body paragraph. So let's just start with our structure that we learned in previous lessons. And the first structure, and both sentences have their own structures, respective structures, as you know. So as you know, we just use the structure always when we're giving the first general information overall. What stands out is that. And then we just continue with the trends. What happened with the trends? As you see, here we have Poland from increasing. Well, there is the beginning as 12, then 7, then 5, then 13 and 14. So there is an increase, overall increase. Italy is stable increase. Russia is increase, but the middle is the highest. So all of them show an increase. So So here what you have to pay attention to is, I said all countries experience an upward trend in the amount of their milk exports. Why we're saying in the amount of milk exports? Because if you say all countries experience an upward trend or all countries experienced or a rise, countries cannot experience a rise. They can experience a rise in certain fields, and that's why it's the amount of their milk exports, or you have to pay attention to the structure, because even if you say upward trend in milk exports, it will not be clear statement. So you just have to state that it's the amount that increases. So you have to just pay attention to these details, and after this we'll have to give our analysis, which starts with the structure. So our second structure here, we just write second here. And the structure is another feature which is worth mentioning, maybe that. So what we're using here, the word feature is good vocabulary, which is here we're using relative clause, or you can simply hide it. You don't have to give it if you just want to use participle clause. Worth mentioning is good vocabulary. Maybe, as you know, is tentative language here. Maybe that, and you just give the highest number. And this is also a template that you can memorize and use it in your own essay. You just say so. As you see here, it's also the template that we can use. So the structure is the highest figures were observed in, meaning in, you have to give now category, whether it's a country, whether it's people, whether it's anything, activity. So observe it in Russia, right? Because it's about Russia. And the next part will be, so the first place should be place, and second should be time. So here it is in the middle of the period. We cannot give the year, so we just say in the middle of the period. So we said the highest figures were observed in Russia in the middle of the given period. Well, we had to give two sentences in summary or overview. First one was general information in which we described the trend, which was all of them are rising, all of them increases. So that's why I said experience a rise. Analysis. In analysis, we'll have to give the highest one, and it's also one's template, and we just give this one too. If you have any questions, you can just leave it in comments. I hope everything is clear. After this part, we'll have to move on to now body paragraph. So now let's move on to the body paragraph or body part of our essay. As you know, in body paragraph, we have to use certain structures to make sure that our essay will be clear, understandable, and it will be for us also easier to write, relatively easier to write. And the structure is, as you know, so I just wrote three things. They are comparing, grouping, and systemizing. So we just have to talk about them one by one. Comparing, as you know, is just comparing two different data, and making comparison is important because it just shows you that shows them that you're analyzing the topic and you're using your analytical information, analytical skills to make a comparison, and it will just lead to increase in your task achievement scores. After that, you have to group information, and the point of grouping is reducing unnecessary noise, reducing unnecessary data, unnecessary numbers in the graph. And systemizing is giving information, giving different categories separately so that it will be easier to write, and after this easier to read, easier to comprehend. And the whole point of systemizing is that it should be user-friendly, it should be easy to understand for the person who's reading it. For example, in our case, we have Poland, Russia, and what was the last word? The last one was, I just don't remember. Italy. This was Italy and Russia, Poland, Italy. Imagine we're just taking 1 year and we're just comparing Italy, Russia, Poland together, and we're just giving it as a trend, as a comparison trend. It's really hard, challenging task to do, and it's going to be obvious failure if you don't have skill set and time to put in the task, which we don't have because you'll have time constraints. Whomever you are, you'll have time constraints, because like writing an essay after listening, reading, after you just spend all your mental energy is really daunting task, because task 2 will be hard. You just spend around 45 minutes on task 2, and you just cannot, you don't have a luxury of time to just to mix them up, to combine them all together and give them in really complex structure. Well, even if you have time, if you don't have any like necessary skills for this, you're going to make a mistake. And if you make a mistake, it's going to affect your overall band score negatively. So that's why we're not going to risk everything. So we're just going to use simple structures that we are guaranteed to get at least 6 if we use it properly. So people can get like 7 using this structure simply if they have good grammar, good vocabulary, and good coherence cohesion level. So let's just try to do this systemizing. And as you know from previous lessons, previous videos, you have to start the body paragraph with starting structures, right? So starting structures are So I couldn't state this more. You just have to memorize all the structures so that you can just properly start your body paragraph. There are just more professional ways of starting your body paragraph. You just say regarding, or whatever. Like regarding, if you want to describe first, like whatever the country it is. Let's just say Italy. Italy is the first here. Regarding experts of Italy, right? So we're talking about experts. Regarding. So experts of Italy. It means you start at Italy, you have to talk about Italy till the end of your body paragraph. So it means like if we're systemizing, it's the first system, the first body paragraph we're giving. So we have three different categories, 3 different countries, and there are going to be 3 different body paragraphs here. So we started Italy. We only can talk about Italy now. So we can just say trend started at. So the trend started at what point? So you just have to look, and it is approximately 17-ish, where it looks 17. So I'm just gonna write 17 here, or is it 18? So it doesn't matter, that you just can write approximately or about. It started at, let's just say approximately. In, you just have to give the beginning period in 2008. And here what you have to pay attention to is, I said the trend started at approximately 17. And here what is important is, I said simply 17. I didn't say 17 million tons, because it's about millions of tons, right? We're not talking about 17. We're talking about millions of tons of milk exported. But if you remember, we gave this measure in introduction. We said measures are given in millions of tons. It gives us opportunity to just give the numbers. For example, if it's 15, we just say 15. If it's 17 millions of tons, we just say 17. And they automatically understand, because we just already stated it in introduction. So the point of, or the benefit of giving measurement in introduction can be seen only here in body paragraph. You just don't have to repeat the word millions of tons again and again. You just avoid repetition by giving measures here. And it's just more convenient for us to just write only numbers, because if we write like millions of tons, it's going to confuse us. So it's just better strategy here. And here we can just find out more about approximately. So what kind of synonyms do we have? So we can say about, around, roughly, maybe nearly also. So these are the possible synonyms of the word approximately. If you're not sure about the number, you can just give this adverb to guarantee that you're not going to get lower score, because you just gave incorrect data. So you cannot just write the word approximately again and again. So that's why you just use synonyms here instead of the word approximately. And here it's a trend now. We just use the structure that we use in line graph, again here we just give trends, like it's increasing, decreasing. It's the same thing as we did with our line graph. So we just say this was followed by simply. So let's just find out more about the connectors linking structures to continue our sentences. And you know this already if you watched the previous videos. If you didn't watch the previous videos, go back and watch the previous videos. But I'm just going to state it one more time again. So we say after.
What is that? Following?
So we're going to make a video on the use of each one too. So for now, you just have to be content with this structure only. So you have to put comma, pay attention, you have to put comma here. So after that, following that, then next, and you just, as you see, there is no change there. So is it a change? I have to look. Yeah, there's a slight change there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's just slightly increasing year by year. So we can just simply say there was a steady or stable. So as you see, I said after that there was a gradual rise, meaning that it was not interrupted, it's just only rise to slightly higher than. You just have to pay attention to using these structures too, because if you're saying only numbers, it's probably going to be wrong because you cannot see really what is happening there. So you just have to guarantee, you just have to protect yourself by using the structure slightly more, slightly less, approximately around. So I said slightly higher than 21 until the end of the period. This is called grouping. So this is called grouping because I just gave 5 years in one sentence. I didn't say it increased and it increased again, it increased again. So I just stopped there, and this was the grouping structure which we used here to avoid giving unnecessary information. And here we can just add comments. So of the period. So I added which was the highest. So I just have to change the structure because this doesn't fit grammatically. So I just have to get the structure, all of them, and put it here, then 21. So I said slightly higher than 21, which was the highest point of its performance until the end of the period. So you just have to give this comment on after 21. So if you give such comments, if you do analysis, if you give such comments in your body paragraphs, you're expected, you have a higher chance of getting a better score, better overall score, because you say, oh, they are describing, they are trying to analyze, they are trying to comment on the trend or chart. So that's how you're gonna get higher task achievement score here. So there, if you are not content with the amount of information or with the quantity of information that you gave, you can just continue there. So I'm just gonna confuse you here. So let me just erase this part now. I'll just erase this part, or I can just simply do this. So imagine we didn't write this part. So I would say there was a gradual rise to slightly higher than 21, which was the highest point of its performance, and we just continue and put it here, performance, and I say until the end of the period, until. So here we can stop actually, but if you're not, as I said, if you're not sure about the amount of information that you gave, you can just continue the giving information by just using participle clause. We can say reaching, and just give some numbers. So for example, I just want to give one number as an illustration. I just say reaching 20 in 2011, 20 in 2012. 11. So here I just gave one number. So you have to pay attention to the fact that you can just add information by participle clause. Or let me just make it even better. I just remove it again. I just give extra information. For example, if I want to give, well, let me just stop it here because I will give extra information, more of this data in second body paragraph of our essay. So this is the end of our first body paragraph. We just talked about Italy and exports of Italy, and in the next part we move on to Russia. So in Russia we just give more detailed information, and I'm not going to include this part because you already know this part. You have to learn this part on your own. Well, I hope you don't have any questions, and we will move on to the second part of our body paragraph. Now let's move on to our second body paragraph, in which we talk about Russian exports. So let's just start with beginning structure, introductory structure. So I'm not just gonna write with different markers. I'm just gonna write with black, and I'm just gonna state important parts with other two markers. So I'm just gonna write. So as you see, I wrote as regards the exports from Russia, because we have to talk about, well, we have to introduce it. And we have to give category actually. So this is our category, exports from Russia. And then we have to start the point. So they said as the figures, well, actually I had to use some words, different words instead of figures, which I didn't here, which I'm gonna give synonyms here. I just didn't say started, I said constituted. So it was different structure. If I said started, it would be the same word, so I just used different structure here. And I'll just give you synonyms of figures here. Well, so I mean, what I mean is, like, it's not, they're not synonyms. What you can use instead of the word figures. Here, the words are. In other words, so I have these words in my mind now. So figures, number, level, amount, quantity. So, well, if I have more words, I'm just going to add it later. So figures constituted nearly, I just said it again. So you just have to save yourself by using these words. You have to protect yourself at the end of the beginning, at the beginning of the period. So I didn't want to use 2008 again because I used it in body paragraph 1. So that's why I said at the beginning of the period. So I just wanted to make it longer. So that's why I just said of the period. I could just simply say at the beginning. So then we just have to continue with link word. So we can say this was followed by. So I wrote, this was followed by, to connect my sentence, to link these two sentences. It's good structure, passive voice. A 2-year period, I just gave the indications that I'm just talking about 2 years, not 1 year. And I'm grouping information here, 2-year period of considerable. So you just have to use synonyms to show the level of growth or decline that you're talking about. And until it reached, I gave extra information here. It's a feedback, like it's like extra comment until it reached a peak. So I just stated that it is the highest point of its performance. So it also, or the highest point of exports of Russia. It's until it reached a peak at, I said, as usual, I gave number, the time, the amount in 2010. So as you see, I use different structure here, despite, and after despite, as you know, we just use ing or noun form. So I said despite peaking, I just wanted to use contrast, and I said it's then declined. So then means after decline steadily. So as I said, you have to just show the level of change to around 28. I said you have to give these levels to protect yourself until the end of the period. I have two choices here. I can say until the end of the period, or until the end, or until 2012 or 2012. So here, one thing that you have to understand is you cannot use the word till because it's informal word. So you cannot use the word so till. So that is the end of our second body paragraph, and I hope you don't have any questions. And now I have to give the third one, which is Poland, but I don't want to give the third one because it's almost the same with Russia, but it's the reverse trend. So it's first decreasing and increasing back again. So I'm not going to give third body paragraph here. I hope you understand everything that I wrote here. I'm sorry if it's not visible. And that's the end of our lesson dedicated to bar chart, dynamic, and in the next lesson we will we'll look into bar chart static in depth, and we will do analysis and explanation of the essay structure. And thank you for watching the video, and see you in the next lessons.